Welcome back to Wave Listens Live. Joining me now, Larry Weiss, Lindsay Fleming from Elder Advisors.
Hi, guys.
Hello. Guys, it's a pleasure to have you back on the show today.
So glad to be here.
How come you looked at her when you said that? I feel sorry.
Because I only meant it for one of you.
Love it, love it.
But I will tell you which one.
Yep.
We'll keep you guessing. But here's what we appreciate Larry for, which is the level of knowledge that he brings to the table each and every day. You've been doing this a long time, a really long
30
time.
years.
Right?
30.
Right.
When somebody comes to you, they visit elderadvisors.com, they call 855-LARRY55 because they've got issues with Medicare or they know they need pre-planning. What happens when somebody makes that phone call or decides that it's time they step in front of you to try to get that peace of mind that you're always working to try to get them?
Well, honestly, the first thing is we let them do some talking, which is something you could learn from. We let them do some talking to find out what their issues and concerns are, because it doesn't matter what I think they are. So we basically just kind of do a little intake and see what concerns they have, because I may think it's something and they'll vector me off to, that's an airplane aviation reference, they may vector me off to something else because I want to make sure their concerns are addressed.
Because there are a lot of concerns that they might have already, but there are concerns that they may not even realize they don't have that they should have, and you're able to find those and make sure that you've got the roadmap in place moving forward.
Sure, 100%. And I think tactically, when folks come in, we really don't need or require a whole lot of information. So I'm never asking for your credit card number when we sit down or your checking account or anything like that. It is very informal. It's not a long meeting. Within about 45 minutes, listening to, what your concerns are, listening to and applying that with our knowledge of doing this for as long as we have, we're really able to see things that sometimes you don't see or that you don't know, but we just don't need a ton of information. And of course, Kentuckiana, the first consult is always free. It's a free consultation to come in and sit down and say, am I okay? Am I not okay? Is there something that's I'm not aware of that we have? Because we see clients every single day in our office, and we've worked through a lot of wonky scenarios.
And I think it's worth noting that there are a lot of people that come for that free consultation that maybe don't even necessarily need anything else in place, and you'll tell them that.
Sure,
the problem is the people that do oftentimes are the ones that don't come for that consultation.
You guys
what are those situations that somebody might be in themselves where now is the time, because you always say it's never too early, where now is the time to come in and have that phone call?
Sure, 100%. I think anybody that, if you've thought about retirement or you're recently retired, it's a time to come in and sit down, because you're thinking about, what happens if I fall and break my ankle on hole number 9 when I'm golfing? We can help with that. What is my Medicare going to cover or what's it not going to cover that I may need help with? So we kind of go through all of that. So anyway, or 65, thinking about retiring. I think a very, very important population is somebody who's recently been widowed. If you've been widowed in the last 12 to 16 months, it's really important to come in, because when you're married and in a crisis, you haven't done anything, we have a little bit more flexibility, but for a single person or a widower, it's very difficult. It's very challenging. You're just much more limited. So that's a great time to come in and kind of sit down and take a breath and do some planning. And we've got a great team, Compassionate Care, that we can kind of help folks navigate what happens.
And it sounds like Medicare, period, if you're dealing with that, or if you're in a situation where you're already fighting with them for one thing or another, well, that's a good sign that it's going to lead to a situation where your assets, anything that you own becomes liable to be sent to them in order to get what you need. But you come to Elder Advisors, take care of that, because you guys deal with Medicare all the time. Talk about why that's important to maybe get that advice or even just walk through that situation with Medicare, because of how much you guys deal with that each and every day.
Right.
Oh, you want me to take it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think Medicare, it's a misconception that Medicare is going to cover everything I need when I turn 65. That's just a misconception. Medicare is a health insurance. It pays for a lot of things. Rehab, if you're improving. It pays for co-pays, hospitals, some medications and things like that if you have the right plan. But when we talk about activities of daily living that just become difficult when you become a certain age, 75, 85, 95, taking out the trash, getting the mail, opening the pickle jar, preparing dinner, managing getting to the pharmacy to pick up your or getting them in the mail and getting the mailbox to get your meds. Medicare pays very, very little for those types of things, which we see even the most independent elderly people need some assistance with that. And so that's going to fall on either the family, or there's a ton of great benefits and programs that you can qualify for even a little bit of help in the home, but you've got to be proactive about qualifying for that. And that's what starts with a phone call to Elder Advisors.
855-LARRY-55. You can also visit elderadvisors.com.
Right.
Yeah, 855-LINDSAY-55 would also be cool.
Yeah.
Larry, you've been very quiet this segment.
I know,
Well, I've been
worried
letting
about
Lindsay and you, but I will tell you that sometimes a client comes in and simply tells us what they want. I had a gentleman come in recently. He said, "I've seen you on television," and he said,
I heard you first.
"I've seen you on television," and he said, "My will is 20 years old. I've made changes. I want to get a trust." So immediately I kind of check my phone and schedule with an attorney, because that's not something that we do. The attorneys create those documents, but we do help the families plug in the trust. But he was very specific. He said, "I don't want any part of probate. I've dealt with it with my parents." So in that regard, then I teed him up to an attorney and a schedule. So we'll do a follow-up meeting with the attorney and the client. So I just kind of basically took some intake, some basic notes and stuff, because that'll be something that's sent to the attorney. And on their availability, but he knew what he wanted there, and that's a pre-plan.
And it starts at elderadvisors.com or calling 855-LARRY-55. Get in front of these two, get your free consultation. 45 minutes is all it takes. Guys, thanks so much for joining us today. That's